There is a budget coming in October, and it's going to be painful. And frankly, things will get worse before they get better.
The UK is fast becoming a miserable country and a bad place for our young people to live. So much so that we appear to now be heading into what's called a happiness recession. This is a very real problem, and we have to have a serious conversation about the kind of effects that are taking place on our youngsters, because if they're suffering from misery now, one can only imagine the kind of misery they'll suffer when they mature into fully grown adults. According to this article from LBC, the UK is the second most miserable place in the whole world, with only one Central Asian country taking the top spot. I mean, think of that, the second most miserable place in the whole world? How tragic is that? And this isn't easy for me to say, by the way, because I love Britain. I love my country. And I want to see us at the top in all of the categories where we can measure growth, success, progress and pride. But we have to acknowledge, we have a problem right now if the UK is being recognised as the second most miserable place in the whole world. We can never solve a problem until we recognise that we have one. So we need to understand why we're in the position we're in currently, and what can be done to shoot us up the rankings to become a less miserable place to be. Hello guys, welcome back. My name is AJ. Let's get into it. With COVID and the cost of living crisis, it's more than understandable why struggling Brits are gloomy, with the UK just missing out on top spot for the most miserable. The UK landed 70th out of 71 for overall mental well-being, earning an average score of 49, classifying the UK as enduring, comparatively low compared to the average global score of 65. We only scored 49, and the global average was 65? Blimey, that is not good news. The report found that the UK mental well-being levels in 2023 had not recovered from pre-pandemic levels, and that 35% of the respondents in the UK said that they were struggling with their own well-being. Now, the report threw up some interesting findings as well, because it appears that there's an age differential in terms of those that are still steady with their mental well-being and those that are not. Whilst well-being for those over 65 has remained steady, 18 to 24-year-olds across 8 English-speaking countries' mental health has shown the least improvement since 2020. Also struggling are young adults and poorer families who have endured 2 economic recessions in just 4 years, the cost of living crisis, and rising rents and house prices. And what's interesting here is that it appears to be comparatively poorer countries that appear to have the higher mental well-being scores. So if we look here, you can see the Dominican Republic, Sri Lanka on 91 and 89, Tanzania on 88, Panama on 85, Malaysia on 85, Nigeria, Venezuela, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Uruguay. These countries make up the top 10 in terms of being the highest with mental well-being, so they're the most mentally stable. But if we look further towards the bottom of the table, you can see all the major Western countries here, the United States coming in 29th with 72, Canada coming in 40th with a score of 67, Australia 66th with a score of 54, and the UK 70th place out of 71 countries with a score of 49. And if you think that was bad enough, have a look at this. Yemen scored better than the UK, Ireland and Australia, scoring 59 for mental well-being, even though 21.6 million people need humanitarian assistance. War-torn Yemen scored higher than the UK. If that's true, then we have a very major problem with the misery levels here at home, and we need to fix this pronto. Not least because, and this is a very alarming fact, so please brace yourselves. Suicide rates in England and Wales have reached the highest level since 1999. And I'm not saying it's the overall, but the link could very well be with what we saw with the UK being ranked as the second most miserable country, having the second worst mental well-being scores, and suicide rates in the UK in 2024 now being at the highest level since 1999. And mental well-being is important because if people don't have their mental health in check, then they can't do things like work, socialize, exercise. They don't want to do anything. They're just in a... what's the word I'm looking for here? They're sort of trapped within themselves. So we have a problem. The UK is miserable, and it's having a tangible knock-on effect on our youngsters and our adults. Now, let's look at the reasons why, and see if we can find potential solutions to kind of turning this around and getting the UK rocking and rolling again. Well, the company that conducted the survey said the following. Some of the key factors influencing why the UK performed so poorly in terms of the mental well-being scores included having a smartphone at a young age, eating highly processed foods, and fraying of relationships. In addition to this, the UK has been experiencing a cost of living crisis in recent years, with soaring costs for food, bills and rent. People's trust in politicians is also arguably at an all-time low, following a series of scandals and the fallout from the polarising Brexit saga. Yeah, the diet one I can absolutely resonate with. I know how dangerous the foods are for things like ready meals. When you look at the ingredients list or you look at the actual measurements of what you're eating, and you see the fat content, you see the carbs, you see the sugar, you see the salts, all that kind of stuff, and you turn around and you see all the artificial additives in there, all the chemical ingredients, all that kind of stuff. That can definitely have a knock-on effect. And if you're eating stuff that's high in salt, high in fats, it is going to weigh on you eventually. And you're going to start to feel more sluggish, slow, and probably less sharp and attentive over the long term as a result of it. Because you're eating these processed, highly processed ready meals. The smartphones and fracturing of relationships at a young age, yeah, I think they're linked together as well. I mean, if youngsters are given smartphones at age 5, 6, 7, 8, as young as that, I mean single digits or just entering double digits, then it's likely that that may have an effect on the way they speak in real life to people. Because when I was growing up, we would always go outside. We'd always go outside, we'd always end up meeting up with our mates after school and just end up doing whatever we wanted to do. Whether that was riding our bikes, going off to play football, doing whatever. Nowadays, whenever I'm coming into the estate, it just seems less and less likely to see any youngsters playing outside, because they're all either playing inside on their phones or on their games consoles, be it the Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. They just seem more connected and feel more at home in the online world as opposed to the real world, which is insane. But the cost of living crisis is a big one, because that's having a real effect on everyone of all ages, be it those of a young age, those of an older age, those who are poor, those who are middle class. That's being felt by everyone. The UK's cost of living crisis is driving 40% of Brits to consider a second job. A new survey of more than 2,000 people across the UK has found that 37% of respondents said that they either had a second job or they were considering looking at one. And as if that were bad enough, the Children's Society found that 1 in 5 UK parents and caregivers found it hard to afford a hot meal every day, while a quarter were not able to pay for a winter coat, and a quarter could not cover the cost of fresh fruit and vegetables. So more people are being pushed into poverty. They can't afford winter coats for the oncoming winter season. They can't afford fresh fruit and veg when they're trying to prepare healthier meals as opposed to buying ready meals. They can't afford hot meals. I mean, when you look at it that way, is it any wonder the UK is ranked as the second most miserable country in the world? Now, the route that Labour have chosen to go down is the economic growth route, where they can grow their way out of these problems and then reinvest the money to fix them. But Keir Starmer gave a speech recently with a plaque emblazoned "Fixing the Foundations." But if you listen to what he says, what he's actually saying is that life is going to get even more miserable for those whose lives are already pretty hard.
There is a budget coming in October, and it's going to be painful. We have no other choice, given the situation that we're in. Those with the broadest shoulders should bear the heavier burden, and that's why we're cracking down on non-doms. Those who made the mess should have to do their bit to clean it up. That's what we've inherited. Not just an economic black hole, a societal black hole. And that's why we have to take action and do things differently. And part of that is being honest with people about the choices that we face, how tough this will be. And frankly, things will get worse before they get better. And I know that after all that you have been through, that is a really big ask and really difficult to hear. That is not the position we should be in. It's not the position I want to be in. But we have to end the politics of the easy answer that solves nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great, and it's not the kind of thing we'd want to hear when we're the second most miserable country in the world, when things are pretty dire already. A speech like that, where he says things are going to get worse before they get better, Not a great way to set us up for climbing up those rankings to become a better place to live. But I'll be keeping an eye on this October budget. I mean, there'll be a lot to unpack in there, I'm sure. And how far Labour go in terms of wanting to fix the foundations, as it were, we'll see what we're in store for. Because if things are truly going to get worse before they get better, then I will do a full in-depth analysis, and then if I can share anything in a future video, I will. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Drop a comment down below letting me know what you think about the UK being the second most miserable place in the world. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have a different opinion? Do you have any thoughts as to why this may be? Let me know down below. I'll be returning in the coming weeks with some more content, but until then, stay safe, stay blessed, stay free, have a drink on me, and I'll see you all real soon. Take care.